Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to go over something new that I've never tried before, which is this large silicone planter mold. And as you can tell, it's super thick. So it's not a mold that I'm going to be able to get over my Aqua Resin or Jesmonite. The pressure will force it to break. As you can tell, there is also a curve to the mold. And so I want to use an air compressor to demold this to make it as effortless as possible, but I'm a little worried that it's still gonna not come out all the way. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use this knife and I'm actually going to slit the mold. And I'm very nervous because this was such an expensive mold, but I'm just kind of following my gut here. This is my first time cutting a mold, so I'm going to do this extremely slow just because I want to make sure it doesn't go down too fast or it doesn't puncture the other parts of the mold. I decided here that slicing it down about halfway should be enough, so I'm going to start there before I go all the way down. And when I demold it or after this first trial, I can then decide, does it need any more? This is looking pretty good to me, so I'm going to leave it here. And because there is a slit, I am going to need to reinforce the structure using rubber bands. I just mixed my Aqua Resin off camera, but I do include all of the mixing ratios and an introduction to the material I work with, and I'll link this episode above here in case you're interested. Also, I am just learning as I go here because I've never done this before. So I'm going to pour in a decent amount and leave a little bit of room so I can start tapping those bubbles. And you can kind of see it's starting to leak out. So I'm starting to get a little bit nervous that it's going to leak the whole time. So I'm just kind of holding the patch right now to stop it from leaking out as I hurry to try to find more rubber bands and hope that that fixes the problem. So I just found some more rubber bands and I couldn't find them anywhere in the house. So I actually had to take some from my daughter's art project and she was not super happy about it, but I promised I'll get her more rubber bands to replace them. So now I'm just adding as many as I could find to make sure that it's as sturdy as possible. If you've watched my other videos, you know that the molds require a little bit of tapping at the end to make sure to minimize as many air bubbles as possible. And with this mold, I know there's a little hole for the drainage, so I'm just trying to keep that somewhat thin or clear so that it doesn't give me issues when I'm demolding it. And this is a quick shot. As you can tell, it got pretty messy, but I think it'll be fine to cure now. Now it's time to demold, and this is where the adventure truly starts on this project because you'll see I have a little bit of difficulty. But first, what I'm doing is I'm removing all of the rubber bands, and next I'm just trying to loosen up the mold to create some space to get the item out. I called my husband in for backup on this one because I had never used an air compressor before, so I didn't really know how it worked. And I needed him to show it to me. And I wasn't sure if we needed 4 hands to get this out or not. And I really wanted this to be successful. So as you can see, we're working with an air compressor trying to get this mold out. However, I've realized that in slicing the mold, it doesn't keep the air pressure locked in to force the planter out. So I'm realizing that the air compressor method isn't necessarily working a ton or as effective as I've seen it work for other people, but it is lifting up. So it's actually lifted up at this point, maybe about an inch so far. And so there is a lot of air pressure that is building up and helping it come to the surface. And at this point, I realized that it might just be better kind of working from my hands to kind of get the rest of it out. I think because it was a little bit more curved in the structure, I needed to pull it out with my hands, but it worked and it came out great. I wanted to include a couple other videos in here to show how the air compressor works for other molds. So I had purchased a couple other planter molds. This one's actually much larger, almost about double the size. And as you can see, I did not slit this mold because I learned my lesson from the first time that I don't think it's necessary depending on the shape. So I didn't slice this one, and I'm strictly just using the air compressor. However, this is a large mold. So it's making progress, but very slow progress. Also, as a side note, this air compressor we have had for a long time and used it for other house projects. And I'm happy we had it on hand so I could try it out. But I'll link this in the comment section for the one that we have specifically, but I'm sure there's a lot of other options out there. And now I am about halfway, I would say, to getting it out. And I figured I would just kind of, as you can tell, I'm kind of like squeezing the rest of it out since it is such a large mold. But using the air compressor helped significantly get it out. And if I didn't have it, I don't think I would have been able to fully demold this without breaking it. And I wanted to save this video for last because it was my most successful, but it was the third attempt for using an air compressor to demold a planter. So this one's a little bit smaller than the last one. I would say in size, it was more comparable to the first mold I used. And I also did not cut or slice this mold. And now I've kind of learned that it takes a little bit to build the air pressure, but as soon as it builds, as you can see, this starts popping out completely effortless. And I couldn't believe how amazing this tool was. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to follow us.